basically we have individuals and we have a lot of multinationals that make up the country. But in actual fact, there's a statistics that I was checking over the last week about OECD. And what they said is that these are basically some of the major countries in the world. About 37 of them actually make up the country, like of the UK, Germany, US, and so many of them, they make up the OECD. And according to the statistics I checked, what they said is that 99% of businesses in those developed economies, those days are the world leaders when it comes to economy, are actually made up by individuals and micro and small and medium enterprises. I was talking about that 99% of businesses, these are the people that create wealth, are driven or being driven by individuals, by micro firms. These are micro firms that those who employ between 1 and 9 people. A small and medium enterprise. They generate 99% of businesses in all these developed countries. So if we try to actually have an impact on the nation, what we need to do is to look at the small scale individuals. If we're able to transform the economy, we're going to have a major impact overall. But unfortunately, for a lot of developing economies, we focus on all the multinationals, the likes of Shell, the likes of MTN. Those are not the real people that actually generate wealth, actually touch every individual. And that is why it's important for us to look at the individual financial liberty. If that helps, if that actually changes, then you're going to see the impact on the overall economy. And so this slide that you have in front of you, what I've tried to say is that if you look at a nation, in transforming a nation, government only needs to do one thing. They need to come up with the right policy and then create the enabling environment. They need not do anything more than that. Government is not in the business of creating businesses. That is a reality. Government is not in the business of employing people, apart from maybe civil servant that are meant to support people. All they need to do is create the right policy and then the enabling environment. Once that is done, then those who have businesses will now come in and respond to the policy by rework, by creating products and services that the enabling environment supports. And once those two have been done, the next thing is basically the main driver of the financial situation of the economy will now be the individuals that will consume the product and services of the economy, of the country. If the individuals do not have wherewithal to actually consume those products and services, no matter how good the policy is, no matter how fantastic the product is, the nation will not be worth it. If you recall, for those of us that have probably been following what has been happening in all over the world, recently the United States of America passed a stimulus bill for about 1.9 trillion, almost $2 trillion to start the economy. And one of the things they did was, apart from trying to talk about building infrastructure, doing a lot of things to start the economy, one of the key things they did was to give money to every citizen, because they know clearly if people don't spend the money, no matter how good the policy or the products that people are creating, that means basically the wealth will not be created and you won't see the impact of the environment. So what they've done is that the last year that passed, they're giving at least every qualified citizen about $1,400. Before then even when Trump was in power, he did something similar, but also giving citizens money, because they need back to right for you to actually transform the economy. The individuals, the citizens must have what it takes to consume the products and services. Otherwise, those who create products will not be able to sell. Those who have services, no one is going to patronize them. It's the same thing also you will see also in a lot of countries in Europe, like in the UK, whereby those who have been unfollowed, government is saying they're taking care of the 80% of their salary by paying them the money so that they can keep spending and keep helping the economy. And even if you go to like countries also in Europe, a lot of them are doing the same thing. You have some countries that do 60%, some do 50%, some do 40%, because everyone understands that it is not enough for you to have the right policy. It's not enough for you to have the enabling environment. They're also equally good. No doubt about that. And it's not just enough for you to have the companies that have all the products and services, but the individuals that are the tail end of the chain, they are the main driver of the transformation in the economy. They consume the product, they actually use the services. If they don't use the services, whatever you have from the companies is as good as nothing. And that is one of the reasons why we're focusing on the individuals in this situation. Now,
Absolutely.
if you look at the chart you have in front of you, what I've done is to go into a presentation that was done in 2017 by PwC. What it's done is to say, look, what is going to be the world economy in the future? And the overall finding is that the so-called the growing economy or the emerging economy, where Africa is, a lot of Asia is, they are the one that will dominate global economy in future.
Hmm.
If you look to the left, you will see what they have in there, talking about the projected GDP in 2016. That was the actual. You see, in this case, they say China is number one because we're not using the actual GDP, they're using the purchasing power parity,
Hmm.
basically what can the citizen afford to buy based on the money that they have in their hand. So that is why China is ahead of the United States. If you want to just look at the GDP alone, you will put the United States ahead of China.
Hmm.
But if you look at the chart, what do you say in 2030? What starts happening is that you see that a lot of the countries that are in Europe and also America are actually coming down. And then if you project it into 2050, what they're saying is that clearly what we're going to be experiencing is that the so-called emerging economy
Hmm.
are going to be growing very, very fast. The average growth they're saying is that about 5% per annum is what they're expecting from the emerging economy.
Hmm.
And that is going to make more economies that we have now
Yeah.
to overtake the powers that we have in the West.
Yeah.
If you look at some of the examples in here,
Hmm.
currently as per 2016, they ranked actually the nation of Nigeria as number two. But they're saying that by 2050, Nigeria is going to rank about 14,
Hmm.
which is just about 4 steps below before United Kingdom.
Wow.
You will see clearly from there what they're saying is that US is going to drop to number three, Japan is going to drop from number four down to number eight. United Kingdom is going to go a step backward. Countries like Italy is going to drop from number 12 all the way down to number 61. And Spain is going to drop from number 62 to 26. So they have a ranking of the current global economy and what it's going to look like in the future. And that shows basically that those of us that are from the emerging economy, like Africa and also Asia, we have, let me say, huge potential to explode to become, let me say, a global power when it comes to the economy in the future. And that is the reason why we must make sure we position ourselves, our future generation, our younger ones, to understand what it takes to become a global power and make sure
Bring me my
now.
other glasses from there.
Otherwise, what will happen is that we'll see the same countries or the companies that are in the Western world moving into those economies in Africa.
Busala, please on that chair, help me look for my additional glasses. As Monico what glasses we only wear with the points chair only wear. Or is it not there? Go my bed, near my bed head. You see the glasses case, the blue one, bring it.
Africa, West Africa is Africa, the youngest, let me say, population are also in Africa. So the demography also supports Africa, and at the same time, they also have what it takes to buy most of this product. So we ourselves, we must position ourselves right now and not wait for that to happen before we now realize that the same Western world is coming over and has come at our markets. So which is why I believe that the topic we're discussing today is very crucial. Now, I'm going to talk about money management because if we're trying to talk about finance, the first thing we need to understand is money management. And if you're going to look at money management, I can get into different categories. And I'm going to look at them in three different categories, looking at what you can review, what you need to action, and what you need to address. So we can look at it for 9 different categories of money management. You can group them into several categories. But for the purpose of this exercise, I'm looking at them from 9 different angles. Though I'm not going to discuss all of them in details, I'm just going to pick a few of them and then zoom into them because of the fact that we have a very limited time. Number one, budget. Many of us here, I believe, do budgets. We may not know that probably we do budgets before our salary arrives, or maybe before money comes in that we do business. We plan what exactly is going to be the outflow, what is the money we're expecting at the end of the month or at the end of the week, and how we want to spend it. That is simply budget. For us to be able to understand money management strategies, we must take seriously budgets when it comes to money management. The second one is understanding understand what exactly are expenses, what are the income that we have. Then, if we have debts that we owe, how do we manage the debts that we have to make sure we pay maybe the right debt on time, or the ones that actually are charging high interest, we how address them. Then, if we have unnecessary expenses, how to make sure we cut down on those expenses. Then, apart from working on those things, we also need to look for a way of creating emergency fund by saving. There is no way we can keep spending all the money we have and not save, and they expect that we are able to maybe do something big with the money. Because one of the things you have to do is to try and make the money work for you. It's not every money that comes in that you spend. Some of them have to be set aside. I'm going to discuss later on how we can set them aside and then make them work for us. Then also we have what is called creating extra sources of income. You can call it multiple streams of income. That means you don't want to have just one source of income. And this is always surprising that many of us we don't take it seriously. If you name any company in the world, any major company, I can tell you that basically they don't have a single product. For example, if you look at Coca-Cola as an example, Coca-Cola, most of us know them as having Coke. But in actual fact, if you go to their website, the website says they have over 400 products that they actually manufacture. Wow. Over 400. Wow. Even the soft drink that we all know, the fizzy drink that we know, they have Coke, they have Fanta, they have Sprite, they have Schweppes, so many of them. Apart from that, they have water. And what are they also sell? Different brands. They have Costa also in Costa coffee, is owned by Coca-Cola. They have also tea that they also sell. They also have juice that we also buy and drink. So many products that they sell. In all, they have over 400 products that they sell in the market. If you name any company, I can tell you that basically they have multiple streams that bring money for them. Even if you take an example of, let's say, even Shell, that probably a lot of us know that we mine export oil from a lot of African countries. Apart from exploration, they have Shell transport, because I happen to actually work on Shell at a point in time. They have Shell transport. Every time there needs to be a transportation of the oil from like a country like Angola or Nigeria or any other country that is exploring the oil, is handled by Shell transport. They have Shell trade, who are responsible also for trading those oil. They also have capacity to refine. And when they refine, they can sell the oil as either crude, they can sell the refined product, and when they sell the refined product, they also sell gas. They can also sell the petrochemical output of the same products. At the same time, also because they buy and sell in different currencies, they also have a huge arm which is called Shell Treasury. I have to work on that particular arm also. That was in London, in the UK. His Shell Treasury on its own is bigger than many banks in the world. What they do is that they manage all the FX, and this is the arm that manages the investments of Shell in terms of how to manage the FX and make sure they lend money to banks if they need to lend money, and they also borrow money if they borrow at a cheap rate, and make sure the money they make, apart from the oil and gas that they do, that they also make money from the money markets. At the same time, from also investing the money in the financial market. So you can see any company you mention, you may look at them as doing one thing, but in reality, they have multiple traits. And that is why it's important for us to also consider how to make sure we don't rely on only one source of income. Even I, as a Christian, in the Bible will say the Garden of Eden was not supplied with just water by just one stream. The Bible says there were about 5 rivers that supply water into the Garden of Eden. If God in himself, in his own master plan, made it in such a way that the Garden of Eden even had different sources of water to it, why will I, as an individual, then rely on just one source of income? Then the other also is looking at the following money management resources, and then think about long term. We are all not going to work for the rest of our life. At a point in time, that's why they have retirement age, 65 or 70, depending on the country. We're going to be less active. Question is that, how are you going to survive when you reach that age? Not all countries in the world have the capacity to actually give people money as, let me say, when they retire. What happens if there is no government to support you? How do you plan to make sure that when you are less active, you have enough money to support yourself. Now,
Mm.
talking about the management of money, one of the things we need to do is to understand as individuals that we need to ensure that we have assets.
Yeah.
Many a times, many people, if you look, those who have read the book Rich Dad Poor Dad understand this perspective, where we're talking about how rich and the poor think. A rich man will always think about how to acquire assets, while those who are not rich or those who don't think in that line, we always acquire liability. One of the things I tell people is that it's good to have a car, but in reality, a car is not an asset.
No.
As far as I'm concerned, it's a liability.
Yes.
Because it doesn't, if you're not using it for business,
Yeah.
if you don't drive it for leisure, the moment you drive the car out of the showroom, even if you have anyone that
the value has
gone down, the moment you drive out of the showroom, almost 20% that car is gone. The moment they put your name on it, 20% of it is gone. So you change your mind and you know, they will tell you, sorry, we can't buy from you at the same amount because basically it's lost value automatically.
Yeah.
That is not an asset, it's a liability.
Yeah.
So we have to think about what an asset is and explore basically how to do that. So if I look at this example, income is the money that we receive through other investment or through other ways that we work. While expenses is what you can call the cost I incur. If I were to buy, let me say, petrol for my car, or diesel, I'm incurring expenses. If I was to pay for my phone, that's an expense. Whatever you give out as part of as a cost is an expense. Then in your every individual has his own balance sheet. So anything that puts money into your pocket could be deemed to be an asset. And anything that takes away money out of your pocket could be deemed to be a liability. For you to have an asset, sometimes you have to part with money. But money comes in. When that particular thing comes in and it generates money for you, automatically it's an asset. So if I look at it further on, so these are some of the examples. I'm not going to go into details. I'm sure most of us are familiar with it. These are some of the examples of what makes up income and what makes up expense, also what makes up asset and liability. And I'm sure most of us are familiar with it, so I'm not going to spend too much time on that. Then there is one other one, which basically I need to mention, and that is intellectual property. When you have an idea, it's an asset. When you have a skill, it's an asset because people pay money for the skill or the talent you have. Many of us probably follow sports. Those who play football or probably play any sport, you may not really see anything physical that they do, but because they have a skill, someone is willing to pay some of them as much as about £3,000 a week because they feel they have a skill that actually is worth paying for. I remember there was one particular person that I read an article about. They said he has some nerves, I think a man, he has some nerves on his buttocks. And he was employed by a company that manufactured mattress and also sofa. They insured him for millions of dollars just because they felt that his buttocks was so sensitive that if there's a small change in the texture of the foam they use for either the mattress or the sofa, he will pick it up.
Wow.
As a result of that, they employed him and they insured him for millions of dollars. That is a skill or a talent. You can see it's an unusual one, but it's a talent that he had, and that is exactly what we're talking about here. It is not only things that are physical, that are assets, but whatever can generate income for you will be deemed to be an asset. And the first thing I want to mention is that you yourself, you are your biggest asset. So if you're going to look at a budget to help you to manage your money, one of the things you need to do is to be able to list out what makes up your income. And then you project also what basically is your expenditure. It could be you want to do it over a year, you want to do it over a period of maybe 3 months or 1 month. It's a projection of what your likely income is going to be and what your likely expenditure is going to be. And that helps you to know how to manage your money. If you think you're spending too much money, and then as a result of that, try and manage your money and say, look, I need to cut down some of my expenses. If you think your income is not enough and you've cut down your expenses down to the minimum, and then you may consider, look, how do I make sure I increase my income to be able to make sure I survive and not be living hand to mouth? And that is the whole essence of budget. And one of the things I want us to take away from here is that every individual, we may be doing it informally. I would advise us to please make sure we have a budget that we prepare regularly. It helps a lot to make sure we don't overspend. It helps to a lot to make sure we don't steal debts. It helps a lot to make sure that we have more than enough for ourselves and also to put aside for the rainy day. Now, if we're going to talk about gaining freedom or financial liberty, one of the things we need to do is that we need to know how to switch on the lights. Where is my money going to? Where is my money coming from? What are the ways available for me to cut down my expenses? How can I manage what is going on right now? And how also can I actually manage what is coming in? And then come up with a plan on how to go about it to make sure that you achieve whatever goal you need to achieve.
Absolutely.
As I mentioned before, for you to achieve a financial liberty, your assets are the things that generate income for you. And then the income are the things that come into your pocket, and then your liabilities are generating expenses. And your expenses also take out money from your pocket. There is a rule that was created by a strategy by Warren and Tiagi. What it says that is a rule they call 50-20. What this proposes that for anyone to live, let me say, live a financial freedom life, financially free life, what you need to do is to make sure that you don't spend more than 50% of your net income on essentials. Then maybe 30% on non-essentials, and then 20% go towards your savings or investments. For many of us, this may not be easy to achieve overnight. But the truth is that if we plan towards it, it is something that we can actually achieve. You may start from 5%, then grow gradually to 10%, then 15%, then 20%, and then can increase it further. But this will require a conscious effort to achieve. It is one thing that I tried myself also. When I started saving, like before, I used to save haphazardly, whatever comes to my mind. But what I realized was that most of the time there will always be one expense for the other. So what I did was I set up a target that every month, when my inflow comes in, a particular amount is set aside for saving, for investment. The rest are the things that are available for me to spend. And over time, I was able to cut down some of the outflows. And then with time, I increased even the amount that I actually put aside as savings or for investment. And that is a strategy that we as individuals, for us to have a financial freedom, must adopt how to make sure we don't spend all the money that we actually make. Now, I mentioned about one of the money management principles of strategy as multiple streams of income. And I've given an example of several companies. At least I gave Coca-Cola and I gave also the price of Shell. Many of us can go back and look at the same thing also for any company that we know. If you go on their website, we realize that not all companies have just one source of income. If I give an example, I work for an investment bank right now. Many people think investment banks are only about just taking deposits and giving out loans. That is far from the truth. For example, the bank I work for, it has over 300 companies that make up the bank. The bank, same bank, which is basically what most of the other investment banks do, they actually have a line that they have a shipping line. Most of the ship that you see that a lot of these shipping lines use, they don't own them. What they do is that the banks buy them and they lease them to most of the shipping lines. When you go on airlines like Qatar Airways, British Airways, or Emirates don't buy the airlines. The airplanes themselves. No. Most of those airlines are actually owned by banks. We have a division that handles airlines. That's basically what they go to the likes of Boeing or Airbus, and they buy all the airlines that is needed, the airplanes that are needed by the likes of Emirates, and then they lease it out to them. Absolutely, you know, lease it out to you for throughout the last one of this aircraft, 30 years. So we've bought it for X amount of money. These are money bills for the next 20, 30 years, and that shows to you basically that apart from lending money, which is the loan, and most of us credit card out, make money for us also. Also, a lot of them invest in several properties. A lot of the high street properties that you see, other commercial property, are actually owned by many banks. Recently, I heard about a strange strategy even by Lloyds that they're trying to even go into not just commercial property, but even private landlordship right now. They're buying blocks of a lot of let me say blocks of apartments the UK, all over UK now. You're buying them, and then they will now setting up a company. They renting them out to individuals. They are not selling. You rent them out to individuals and they make money from them. So you can see even all the companies we have around us have 1,001 ways of making money. And that is why it's important for us as individuals also to look at how we can make multiple streams of income. Many of us, when we're talking about making income, one of the things we talk about is, how do I make money from by doing YouTube? That is what people are doing. I can write an ebook. I can get cash back rewards on my credit card. I can sell my own product on the internet. I can try investing. I can do so many things. I'm not saying these are not good. They are good ideas. But in actual fact, that is not the right strategy to adopt. If they may work, they may not work. They may be very rewarding, but is that the right way to actually go about it? Because sometimes you see other people doing it, and we also jump on it, and then sometimes it works, sometimes it does not work. There are better ways of actually creating other streams of income. According to my belief, which is based on Christian beliefs, that the Bible says in the book of Proverbs that a man's gift is your talent and your skill. It makes room for you and brings you before great men. If you have a skill, it's a better representation of who you are and helps you better. And that is why I'm proposing, which is an approach that has also been pushed a lot, a skill-based approach when it comes to creating multiple streams of income. This basically looks at what are the things you do and you do very well. And this is based on 5-step approach. Number 1, you identify the skill you have and you enjoy doing it. Number 2, you discover it, the ideal by asking yourself, or you ask people around you. Number 3, you perform selection of action or function to undertake. Then you get a feedback from people. Before, and then number 5, you go for it and get it done. If you base whatever you're trying to do on the skill you have, what you enjoy doing, even when you face challenges, you will have enough motivation to keep going. Absolutely. And that is one of the things that I've been proposed right now for everyone that's trying to go into business. That you don't just pick any business and do. Others may be doing it, may be good, but really, you have the skill. You enjoy doing it. If you don't, when you face challenges, which every business will always face, many people will throw in the towel and just walk away. Now, if you're talking about your skill, there are ways of actually looking at the skills that we have. Number 1, what can be deemed to be an ultimate skill? And it combines 3 different skills together. A transferable skill, what you like doing. A self-management skill, how you do it and what is your style. And then a job content skill, which is basically the knowledge of the tool that you use on the job. Everything here, because of the time, I'm not going to go into too much detail, is trying to tell us about assessing the skill that we have. And then looking at how best we can use those skills to actually make income for ourselves. 50%, according to the survey, 50% of all the success in the job are actually down to self-management skills. And that is why the skill that we have is important when it comes to looking at ourselves. And also, you look at all your personality traits. I'm not going to go into that because I'm conscious of the time. To make sure I cover a few other things that we have. I'm going to make available this slide so people that want to go read more about it can actually read it up later. The next one is to discover the ideal skill that you have. You can validate this by asking people what exactly skill you have and then see how you can actually convert that or commit that to cash. So if you look at the graph I have here, the chart, if I'm organized, I'm ordered, I'm creative, I'm intuitive. The competency that you can get out of this, I experiment with things, or maybe I design things. Absolutely. Or maybe I'm very persuasive. That would tell me that basically I have a talent to teach. Or maybe if I'm so energetic, maybe I can convince people. Or maybe I'm very logical in the way I do my things, and so maybe I'll be good when it comes to maybe the pace. And from there, I can say, look, what are the things I can get out as a profession from this? So if I'm very, let's say, persuasive, I could say, look, one of the things I can go into is coaching people. We have a lot of people that talk about, let me say, a motivational speaker. when it comes to proofreading whatever document they write, or those who like style, they like design, very intuitive, can become a stylist or be a personal shopper. These are the things that people can do in addition to whatever they're doing. Or if you have eyes for detail or for designs, that could be maybe you want to sell things also that probably is in that line. So the whole idea is that whatever we're trying to explore as a multiple streams of income, we need to look at what are the skills that we have. Because when we face challenges, when we are running a business, if you enjoy doing it, you will be able to endure and then overcome those challenges. So these are just slides of some of the things that people probably would say, look, I know I'm thinking, I love this, I love presenting. Maybe from there I can become a presenter, I can be a coach, maybe I can, those who have kids that probably love football, so look, maybe you can start playing football as a part-time, and then probably from there, if it's good enough, you can become a full-time football player. So there are so many things that we can look at, but the key thing is we'll look at the skills that we have and then try and see how we can actually make something out of it. I know someone that enjoyed DIY, and from there he built a property business from it. He didn't go to school to learn it. What he did was basically, he read engineering school, but after a while, because he loved DIY, he mastered it, he did it over and over again.
Wow.
And now he's making his money from there. So that is driven by skill. When you're facing challenges, when in a particular way you're trying to make money, if it's something you enjoy doing, like you can even do it without even being paid for it.
Absolutely.
It helps you to continue going in that particular
Absolutely.
line. And there are a lot of ways for you to identify your ultimate skills. But the key thing, as I mentioned before, is that if you enjoy doing something that you can even lose track of time, maybe disconnected from the environment, doing that thing, that is a signal to tell you about what your ultimate skills are. And also then you can validate this by creating our people. One thing that I want to give us is like a quick guide on how to launch our own venture. You want to stand out. There is a particular method called Kigai. It's a Japanese word for our essence. What's my purpose? What is the ultimate reason why I'm here? It's a Japanese word. It's called Kigai. And it's made up of certain things that you ask yourself questions. What do you love? What are you good at? Then what the world needs, and then what you can be paid for. So if you bring all this together, it helps you create a business that you thrive. You love doing it, you're good at it, and you can be paid for. And then also, ultimately, the people around you need that particular service or product. Then that kind of business is guaranteed to thrive. And that is one question we need to ask yourself as individuals. If I'm going to run a business, how do I answer those questions to make sure I run the business at home, create a partnership? No one is asking us to quit our job right now. You can keep your job you're doing right now, but at the same time, try and identify the skills you have. Some of these skills are things that probably we develop on our job right now, and then we can build on it to be making certain income by the sideline, and then from there over time, it can grow very big, and then we can quit whatever job we're doing. So these are some of the top tips that I have here also, but I'm not going to go into all the detail. If you're going to start your own business, the first thing is, what's the financial vision? Do you know why you want to do business? Can you start it from where you are? You don't need to have, some people want to start a business, they're talking about renting a massive office that's going to cost them a lot of money. You don't need to start a business from that level. You can start from where you are. What do you have right now that basically you can leverage on? Then decide, okay, which niche do you want to focus on? Others are doing A, B, and C. You want to do everything, or you just want to do only A, and then be known to be the best in A that you do. And then you can formally start a business just to make sure there's a proper structure. And then you look at basically the training that you need to have for that particular field. There's a training that needs to be held, or maybe there are qualifications that you need. Then the accounting part or the legal part, just to make sure you run the business the right way, and obviously make sure you have the insurance is needed for that particular industry. And if you're going to do the business, one of the things I will recommend is that you write a business plan, because that helps you to know exactly what are the likelihoods you have to kind of structure you want, give your name, your business a name, you find a finance if it requires a lot of finance. Finance doesn't need to come from the bank. It will come from bank of friends, or bank of family, or bank of parents. For those who believe in your skill, like okay, you've been doing it for a while, and they trust you, they can easily help you with the finance to start with. And then, if you need to acquire software after a time, you can do that. But you also need to understand the legal implication of whatever you are doing and how to market the product for people to see. So this is the end of the first part. So I'm going to, for now, stop there. And if there's any question before I go into the second part, so I will hand over to Bernard. Thank you.
Wow, what can I say? What can I say? That was deep. That was in fact I must confess you gave me some insights that I was not aware of previously. I knew Coca-Cola had so many products, but if anybody asked me, I probably would have said like 40, 50, but 400, that was, and I used to think, yes, I've always known that some airlines do lease their aircraft rather than actually purchase. But today is the first time I will actually find out that all of them, they're actually leased, so because when you hear that, Etihad or Singaporean Airlines or the Star Alliance that they've acquired uh, 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 373s, from Boeing or from Airbus, you just come to the conclusion that what, those ones are really, really, those airlines are really, really well to do, and they're actually acquiring it. So, and of course, you do know some airlines, you kind of suspect that these ones are actually are getting full finance from the bank or part finance. Thanks for educating me and educating other people. I can already see. I went to the feed and I saw 5 shares already before I even got there on Facebook. There were already so many. Usually I'm the first to share, but quite a lot of people have done the sharing, and I really must appreciate you, Mr. Emmanel Agbedeyi. Now, I'm just going to allow in-house panelists. Have you got any questions? Because we're only going to take questions from social media and everywhere at the end of it all. The in-house panelists, does any one of you have a particular question on the first section that he has covered? I do. I have a question, but do you have any question? Okay, Comrade Shola Fayemi. Okay. The unmute is allowed. Okay. Okay, no problem. So we'll leave that. Right now, I've got a question, and Mr. Agbedeyi, I want to find out now. You did say something that it's got to be what we enjoy to do in terms of uh, that second stream or that the subsequent streams of income, and even for the first stream as well, that one should actually be looking to indulge in something that the productive venture should be something they enjoy, so that when they encounter. Now, I've heard a lot of people on a personal note. I've got many skills by the grace of God. I've got so many things commercially that interest me, that I'm excited about, that drive me. I've also got a passion for humanity, for helping, for running organizations, non-profits, which at the end of the day you actually still have to dip into your pocket to run. Now, I've met quite a few people in my time helping to build or helping to set up or running organizations of this sort, and many of them, when you ask them what is it that you enjoy doing on a daily basis in terms of income, they just say, look, I love serving. I love, and for people in Nigeria, for those of us who are in this part of the world where in the West, it's a lot easier for you to, to apply for jobs with all these, with multilateral organizations that, you earn a decent living from them. What about those who are in Nigeria, for example, sub-Saharan Africa, where some of these things, even if you do get a job in these areas, they don't really sustain you per se. And then it's a non-profit. You're not really supposed uh, to be making money from, even though some people on the ground they do funny things and turn it into a cash cow, for to be milked on a personal note. So what do you what people who belong to this category, what would you be advising in terms of them advancing themselves and being able to, at least earn a living and, plan for put a little away, because I know you emphasize that point as well. Put a little away for the rainy day. What would you advise those people?
Okay, thank you. Thank you for the question. When it comes to people who basically, let's say, have a passion for like NGO that you mentioned, in reality, there are many, many, let me say, multilateral organizations that actually fund such things. It's only unfortunate that many people are not aware of them. There are many companies that I even know in Nigeria that are actually being funded by organizations that are in the UK, America, and Europe. So there are ways that people can actually make themselves known. For example, if I know that I say, for example, I support organizations that look at maybe emancipation of the girl child or whatever, or people who are struggling, or maybe those who are maybe disabled. There are organizations that actually support such things. If I want to go for a training, there are certain organizations you can apply to that they will fund your training. Also, some of them also give you certain money as, let's say, grants. Even in the UK, you have in the UK also available like that. The last time I went to Nigeria, I know of a particular person that I heard probably set up let me say, a big company based on the funding he was getting from the EU. And all he was doing was saying, look, he was going to be making available cheap money because he was more interested in seeing, let me say, market women having enough money capital to start small businesses and then grow from there. That was his passion. And as a result of that, I think he passed around and someone was able to connect him with the right application to a particular multilateral organization in EU. And he was getting funded from there to actually do what he wanted to do. Number one, paying all his expenses, and at the same time also making money available to him to lend out to those who do such things. So it is one of the things that people need to do is to look at. Most of the times you don't actually look at. There are a lot of organizations that are available, charity organizations that are available, that are willing to support. I have a very good friend that actually works for some organization right now in Nigeria. All they do is basically get funding from Canada and also from America. And then they help a lot of, let me say, the finance sector of Nigeria to make sure that basically they grow, they have infrastructure to train the next, let me say, set of let me say, next future leaders in Nigeria. And that's what they do. And he's doing very well. He makes enough money for himself and his family, even to even go on holiday. But that is his passion. He's not stealing the money, but he's getting the funding. Because a lot of these organizations that we have outside, they understand the fact that people need to make a living. So once they know that one is, let me say, a new work, you will make the funding available. But you have to apply and they need to go through the screening process. They will check, make sure everything is okay, and then will make the funding available. So that is one way of people actually doing it. The other way also is that people can actually look for people of like minds. If I know I do something, for example, I'm into helping, let me say, people who are orphanage. I can look for people within my circle that actually have the same passion, but they don't have the time. So they can, if I have such friends, and also who can link me with other people, they can actually give me all the support that I need financially to do such things. So guys, I need this amount of money to do this every time. This is the budget. This is the outflow I'm going to be having, the expenses, and it's going to include my own also upkeep. If they look at it and they like what I'm doing, some of them will support, and some of them probably they will even link maybe up with maybe organizations. There are a lot of organizations right now in Nigeria that are doing such things as part of their CSR. But if you don't do such things, if you don't go out, you won't know. A lot of them do that part of CSR. Even most companies right now, one of the things that they are being judged on is what is their level of CSR.
Absolutely.
So if you make yourself available to what I do, and you have, let me use the word, established record, track record, of what you do. Some organizations will be willing to link you up with their NGO arm and say, look, can you talk to this person and see how we can fund you and provide support to you in this area and this area. And there are a lot of ways that people in Nigeria can actually do that. You don't need to also, if you want to go outside, you can go outside. But if you want to engage with people, individuals, you can do that. Also, if you want to engage with, if you also want to engage with companies in Nigeria, you can also do the same thing. Wow. So there are ways that people can actually do about that.
Thank you so much, Emmanel Agbedeyi. You really, really are grateful. Now, I'm just going to ask something which is personal to me now. In terms of, um, you know what, it's balancing it. You know, it's. I would say this. How, you know, I'm trying to find the best way to say it, because I do know that there might be other people from other cultures that are watching this. Now, for those of us who are from Africa, and we've got quite a lot of friends over there, or family, let me put it that way. And then there's that challenge, the challenge of sustenance, the challenge of setting them up, you know, because they're always it always starts from, you know what, regular help for this, for that, for that. So, you know, you're on a monthly basis or on a yearly basis or a quarterly basis, you're committed to that kind of thing. Or in terms of setting them up, because there are times you get to the point where you think of, you know what, can I help in the area of business? But of course, the question is always as well that, do they know what they want to do? And more often than not, the kind of businesses people want to do over there, they're usually the kind of, in fact, by the time you ask for estimate, you're getting estimates in several millions, which are, and you always ask the question, is it not possible to do something that is, you know, yes, maybe over a million, over a few million, but at least that is reasonable? Do you get the point? Now, so, and I'm also asking this because of those who are watching, and someone is saying, okay, Emmanel Agbedeyi is talking of, the context is, there are loads and loads of opportunities in the West, in the UK, in Canada, in the US, in Australia. These are lands of opportunity. What about is in Africa, where opportunities are limited in terms of what to do in order to maximize to create wealth, in order to be able to, you know, to make that difference? What would you suggest or recommend in that area?
I think I'm going to maybe try and correct one notion that the opportunity in Africa is limited. I think it's the opposite.
Okay.
The reality is that most of the time we don't look at the right places. I will give an example because I'm into investing also. There is a company called Total Wave. I'm sure probably some
Yeah.
people will know it. Recently, they're raising money, and they have foreign investors who are investing the money in the company, basically into all this e-money platform and the rest. The last valuation of that company was $2 billion.
Wow.
$2 billion. This is a company that was started
Anna,
in Nigeria.
please close that door for
There
me.
are loads and loads of ways, and that's one of the things I mentioned at the beginning. It's all about the skill. There are a lot of startup companies that are coming up in Nigeria that are making waves, not just in Nigeria, but also outside of Nigeria. The key thing we need to do is that we need to look at what exactly are the things that make people demand. If you remember the guy chart that I showed us, what does the world need? Is there a demand for that particular product or service? If the question is, if the answer is yes, then how do I make sure I actually, if I have the skill to do it? One of the things that I think we have as a problem in Africa right now, Nigeria also, is that we so much focus on theory and not the practical side of things. We're not thinking about skill. We have some very intelligent people in Nigeria that probably we can teach them to go into coding to understand how to program things. Right now, the belief is that Africa is undertapped in terms of the IT and the e-payment solution. And that is why you see the likes of PayPal, They are also trying to start a lot of outdoor startups. And some of them, even right now, are actually rivaling the Silicon Valley companies right now. And those are some of the things that our students need to start teaching. Skills is what is needed. It's not it's not just theory. So if we learn to teach our people about skills that you need, that will be in demand, it will help you to create a content that someone somewhere will be willing to pay money for, to acquire. I know a couple of companies that basically a lot of Naira companies have invested in, and they've worth billions now, billions even in Naira money. And that is a key thing that we need to look at. What are the skills that are going to be in demand now, in future, 10, 20 years' time? How do we make sure we key into that? Most of these businesses will not, let me say, use money overnight. That's true. Some of them will even die by the wayside. But if we have the passion for it, even if I can't make ends right now, but I believe so much in it, and there's a demand for it, somewhere down the line, someone is going to identify that it is a product that is good. And then someone is going to say, I can partner you, give you the money to move it to the next level. And once they move
Anna, please let me close that door.
It will bring more people in. Actually, it's a company that we think it has a very good future. You can also partner with us. And then with time, you see it grow over and over again. By the time you start making money, what you're going to see is that eventually more people will come in and then companies will grow. There's let me say, venture capital, like a friend of mine. What it is that they scout the whole of Africa for businesses that are just starting and they believe they have basically the future. Get a proposal, scrutinize it, and send it to all the people that are probably like willing to do private investment in these companies. You scrutinize, ask all the questions. If they don't pass the scrutiny, they drop the business. If they pass, they tell you this evaluation of the business. If you're happy with it, you can invest in the business. There are several young people who are doing that now. So there are loads of things that people can actually do. It's only that we so much focus a lot of the time on our students on thinking about getting out of the school and getting employed in a company. It's good if you want to have a sustained income, but there are more to life than that. And that is why even in the UK and also developed economy right now, you see a lot of young people coming out and they will tell you they're not willing to work for big companies. They rather go and work for a fintech. That probably is not paying enough money. They know that if the fintech company survives and becomes big, the day it gets listed on the stock exchange, they become billionaires overnight. But they're willing to pay that sacrifice over a period of 5, 10, 15, 20 years. But they know clearly that when it gets to the point that it's surviving, it's going to make money. I invested in a company almost 8 years ago. The company is going to go get listed on London Stock Exchange by May. Someone will have to look, why we put your money in a company that probably may not survive? That is a risk. That's part of life. And that is the thing that also we must have a mentality to delay gratification. Businesses most times don't make it overnight. We must be willing to endure. But in the process of enduring, the question people ask is, how do I survive? And that is where people need to now make sure we don't have one source of income and try and see how we can get things to sustain ourselves until we hit it. Let me use that word actually. We say it in Nigeria, until you hit it or probably you make it eventually. But we shouldn't expect things to just come overnight. Even the likes of Dangote, they didn't start way easily. They started from somewhere. But over time, the business grew and it became established. And today we're talking about him, the richest man in the whole of Africa, which is good. But he never started from where it is today. And that is exactly the same also when it comes to businesses. You start from somewhere and over time you grow.
Wow, thank you so much, Comrade Agbedeyi. Thank you so much, Emmanel Agbedeyi. I really, honestly, this is really rich, and I'm really grateful. I'm thankful for the insight. I believe one of the in-house participants has got a comment. Ayoleola Inka, if you just want to unmute. Just unmute and let's hear your good evening. Good evening, sir.
You have really done well. And the reason I want to contribute is on the aspect of us focusing on the theory rather than the practical. It's reminds me when my wife told me, introduced the pig farming to me 2 years or 3 years back. The funniest thing is, a retired bank manager told us that he invested millions into that same pig farming, but lost most of the pigs. That when he get there after 2 or 3 weeks, they will tell him one died. Sometimes they will tell him the one that gave birth, out of 6, 4 of it died. So we were afraid to venture into it when she told me. Then a particular guy, the guy was a security man. He now told us that pig farming is good, that you can make money from it, that we should go into it. So we decided to give it a try. Sincerely, we started with just 45,000 naira. We buy a pig with 2. So when we started, in treating the pigs, when I wanted to treat the pig, somebody told me he's going to treat the pig with 5,000 naira. You know, I'm not aware of it. I gave the person 5,000 naira. Unfortunately, things were not going right. So I now decided one day that, okay, let me even be looking at these things myself. I will wake up as early as 6:30 and go to the farm because the farm is very close to my house. From there, I'll go to work in the morning. When I come back from work again, I'll go back there. From there, you believe that what I paid 5,000 naira for treatment? So that same drug, I bought the drug 1,000 naira, and the pig will use that same drug 4 times. So that's the main reason why I agree with you that why many people make much loss in business because they focus more on the theory rather than the practical aspect of it. You need to go there. Whatever you are doing, you need to put more focus and commitment into it. That is when you can make more gains from those. That's my little contribution. Thank you very much, Mr. Emmanel, our speaker.
Thank you so much, Comrade Ayolola. Mr. Emmanel Agbedeyi, over to you. Mr. Agbedeyi, over to you.
Yeah. Thank you so much. I think you've rightly hit on it. We're running a business. You can't stay alone and expect someone to run a business. Do that. Things probably you understand how business are taken run. At the same time, also things to go not in the same way you expect it to go, and then probably may not work well. But it's very important for us to actually make sure we involved when we're running a business. It helps a lot to make sure we're able to make things for ourselves. If you look at the likes of even the Apple and the rest, Facebook, they'll tell you decide everything from their own maybe garage or somewhere. But they were involved. They didn't just leave the business to someone else to run and they expect it to grow. They had involvement. They kept their hands dirty. And today, these are multi-billion-dollar businesses. And that is why it's important for us. Even if you have any as a celebrity or side also, or second stream of income, you need to have a level of involvement in it. Otherwise, people you actually employ to manage the business for you, they end up running it up. And that's where a lot of business actually don't survive when it happens to be second stream of income. If you don't have someone that you trust as in charge, then it's going to be a struggle to make anything happen for the business. Any other comments so I can go into the second part, or what's the plan?
Okay, let me just quickly put this question to you. It's from it's the typical question that I've heard on so many occasions myself. You know, people. It's from our YouTube feed, and this person says, "Mr. Speaker, please, I have 2.5 million naira. Please advise me what businesses I can invest in Nigeria." I wouldn't know what context that question is. It could be like, is 2.5 million enough to do anything, or maybe mention a few lines of businesses that someone can invest in. You know, these are it's so typical. I've come across I've had so many occasions when I've spoken with younger people or even people my age, people older, and they're actually telling you, "I've got 5 minutes. What can I use it to do? I've got, and it's just like they're looking for something out of the box, like they don't already know. What do you? How do you answer this question?
Okay, I think the starting point is that there are loads of businesses in Nigeria, but as I mentioned, the network is always very key when it comes to this. I will give an example. I have a friend. He works in an NGO in Nigeria. He's top part of top management there. But some of the money he makes, he invests in those who actually have farm in some middle belt and some part of southwest Nigeria.
Hmm.
And they give him about 20% interest every month. The minimum you invest in, I think, is farms. I think it's about maybe 6 million thereabout. So you invest the money, and every month they give you 20%. They will give as high as 30% return every month. Why? How they do it, I don't know. But these are farmers that has been doing this for years and years. And even sometimes the money he gets is more than the supply. But these are some of the farmers that need have businesses that they need money, either to buy certain things, buy maybe seedlings, or to transport things from somewhere. But the business they actually is very, very profitable. But they don't have the capital. So they look for people who can actually fund money. And then they do that. I also have a relative that the time ago basically was actually go to farmers, buy their cassava from them, and then sell it to companies that actually do ethanol from it.
Wow.
So they do commodity ethanol, and then they sell the ethanol to those who do, I think, breweries, and then those who use for other things also. So these are opportunities that people actually, all they do is look for money. If I find a farmer that is worth 10 million, 10 million or 5 million, they look for the money, buy it, sell it within 2 weeks or 3 weeks, they get their money back, and the return they get on it is huge enough.
Wow.
I know someone also that actually, for people that actually need small business to start, they give them the money and they pay back. And also, there are loads of businesses that are actually there in Nigeria that people actually run. All they do is just need a capital. Like the friend I mentioned, apart from those who have cassava, I think there's one also you said it also those who are basically do all this corn also. So he invests also in such businesses. So there are loads of opportunities that are there. I also have a friend that apart from investing in all these businesses, he also invests in stock markets. And it gives good return. In actual fact, I have a friend that actually reached out to me when the lockdown or the coronavirus pandemic got to the peak last year, and the person invested the money in the UK. I can tell you, basically, the person is saying, apart from the fact that the money is locked down in pounds now, which basically will have gained because of the fact that Naira is losing value. Apart from that, it's been double digit return. Talking about over 30% return on that money. So if a person was going to convert the money back to Naira now, it's going to be almost about, let me say, 80% return.
Wow.
The money that the person put down in less than a year.
Wow.
So there are loads of opportunities. One of the things we need to do is to have the right network. And that is one of the things that are always missing when it comes to businesses. If you don't know the right people to talk to, if you go meet the wrong people, they give them your money and you cannot get your money back. So we need to identify the right network, understand basically how business is being run, vet them, make sure they're genuine. Put your money there, you can get a return. I have people also, as I mentioned, also Nigeria that do investment in stock market. Some people don't want to do stock market because they feel it's too risky for them. But they want something that on every month they get something back in return. And that is why I mentioned that example of a friend that actually invests in farmers. And he's been doing it for years. And he gets money every month. He gets return. He's never had any issue. So there are so many opportunities that are out there in Nigeria. Even some people that I even know. Basically, when people import certain things, for example, or solar, buy direct from those who do the import, and then look for businesses that will install solar, sell it to individuals that want to install solar, and then they sell it to them. They make his own commission. They bring the margin he has to do, and then he moves on. I know someone also in Nigeria that basically imports meter. I know there's a prepaid meter business right now in Nigeria that almost every house. The last time I was talking to the person, he said the man is huge and far, far more than the supply. So what he does is that he goes to China, gets him, and he has so many people who actually buy from him, and then they go back and sell it to all these, I'm not sure what they call them in Nigeria, they call it discos in Nigeria. So they hack their own margin, so they make the money. So there are business opportunities. What people just need to do is just look around, do your own homework, make sure you're happy with whatever you have. If you think it's worth the investment, then you go into it. The reality is that I must confess, it's not every business that will be profitable. Some, if you were to invest in this about 5 businesses, maybe one of them will not work out. But those are part of the things that happen when you do business. So you don't expect every business to work at every time. If anyone tells you I invested in 10 businesses and all of them are yielding very good profits, that is lying to you. But what happens is that the 9 or maybe the 8 that are giving you a return will be far, far bigger than the 2 that are not giving return.
Thank you so much. Honestly, Emmanel Agbedeyi, we would have to have you back at some other point, for it's been a very big eye opener for me. And incidentally, I'm just asking myself, I've hardly ever called you to have conversations such as this. And it's so just even on a personal note, I've just been wasting my time as well, So I really, really want to appreciate you. You've really opened our eyes to a lot of things. In the absence of, does anybody have a question, even though we should be going to the second part now? We've got a few questions on social media, but we'll take those once you're done. So I believe you can proceed to the second session.
Can I confirm how many minutes do I have? Because the second session, I was planning that for about half. I'm conscious of the fact that we have only about 30 minutes left.
Okay, just take the second session. We'll probably might not do questions. We'll bring you back another time when we can then take questions. Yeah, thank you.
So the second part is just talking about what are the types of investments that we can actually have, which is also going to touch on some of the things that we've discussed. In here, I've listed a lot of investments, but I'm not going to go into all of them. Some of these are more available in the Western part. Some of them are available also in Nigeria. People can actually invest in shares, which make people do exchange. Nigeria, also anywhere in the world, either in Nigeria, exchange, Ghana, or in the UK or in the US. You can also invest in funds, which is mutual funds. There are different types of funds. So you can invest in funds whereby you don't do anything at all. You just put money down for a professional. They decide on what to invest the money in. And then, based on their track record, if you're happy with them, put the money there, they give you a return. Also, investment trusts also work in a similar way. Directly interest funds also work in a similar way. What they do is that they invest in loads of companies. You may know, for example, for those who want to buy, maybe invest in Amazon. I don't have money to buy a share that is about $3,000, but I only have, let's say, about 1,000, which is equivalent to about, let's say, $1,000, let's say about 500K that I have. If you were to drop the money, they would decide to invest part of the money maybe in Amazon, part of the money maybe in Visa, part of the money in MasterCard, part of the money in Tesla. But they will put money together from 1,001 people and then spread the risk, and then based on their own personal skills, decide when to go in, when to sell, and then which one to buy at any point in time. So that's basically how our funds work. Also, you have bonds. That's like a highway issue that companies issue. They will issue an instrument to the market and say, look, if you were to invest in this, we'll pay you, let's say, 10% return. So you agree, if you want to invest in it, and then you pay money, you take the bond, and then once on maturity, you give back the money. Or you'll have your interest also on it. Then similarly, also we have treasury bills. This used to be one of the biggest income for a lot of Nigerian banks until the rate was reduced. If you looked at the Nigerian banks a couple of years ago, you realize that most of the Nigerian banks were not really doing banking. The large chunk of the money they were making from the money market. I've seen CPN was giving interest rates of almost about 14% per annum. So most Nigerian banks just dump their billions of naira into treasury bills and they hand money from there. It's also open to individuals, by the way. So if you go through your broker, you can also invest in treasury bills.
Yeah.
In this part of the world, treasury bills will not give you a lot of, let me say, return. Some of them are as low as 2%.
Yeah.
So some even stay away from me here because of the fact that the interest rate is at all-time low in the western part of the world.
Yeah.
But in Africa, where the inflation is still relatively high, like in the case of Ghana, Kenya, you see double digits. And that is why a lot of banks, even in this part of the world, they take their money, they invest it in treasury bills in Africa, all over Africa, that will give them good return.
Absolutely.
Apart from that, also, we have real estate. People invest in properties and hope after a couple of years, you sell. You then buy land, and then when the area is being regenerated, they could choose to sell the land, or probably the developer buy a property, and then when the property appreciates, then decide to sell. Or they may not choose to sell, they may have to get a tenant into the property and be earning rents from that. So you can invest in that. Also, when it comes to commodities, these are crude oil, or what we eat, like corn, sorghum, millet. These are commodities basically that you can also invest your money in. Then currency, people trade FX. I'm sure we'll have heard a lot of things about FX that people are actually trading. So that's also a form of investment that you speculate or you expect the interest or maybe the FX to gain against one particular currency. You invest in it with the hope that it's going to appreciate, or you take the opposite. And then if it goes in your favor, you execute the trade and then you make money off it. Then the interest-bearing asset also that you can do. There are precious metals, people buy gold, silver, and people also trade in arts and antiques. Those who buy things and hope that maybe in the next 15, 20 years, it's going to go appreciating money. I was reading an article today about a particular family that actually sold one of the Benin heads that was looted from Benin almost about 18 something.
Yeah.
But the family had it for a long time, and the person sold it recently. That bronze head, that particular one, which is not one of the common ones, but it's a particular one also from that era, sold for £10 million.
Wow.
So that is kind of money business also that some actually invest in. But I'm not going to go into all that. But one of the things I want to talk about is why should we invest money? And one of the reasons why we should invest is basically the fact that money loses value. If I was to keep money in my pocket for 5 years, let's say I have 1,000 naira, or let's say 1,000 naira. If I had 1,000 naira in my pocket, what I can use 1,000 naira to buy today would not be the same thing I can use the 1,000 naira to buy in 5 years' time.
Absolutely.
So if I was to keep that 1,000 naira maybe under my pillow or in a shelf in my house or in a safe, without giving anything to that money, the money loses value itself.
Absolutely.
If you look at an example, even let's look at some countries whereby someone had that money. Let's say we look at an example of those who have naira. When the current government in Nigeria came to power, if you look at what naira buy and you compare it to what naira buy now, you will have seen a massive difference.
Yeah.
Even though the same person has the same money kept in the safe, in the same house, the person cannot buy the same thing that they would have bought maybe 5 years ago.
Absolutely.
The same amount of money, because money loses value, and that is mainly because of inflation and other factors. So, for you to make sure you don't lose money, one of the things you must do is that you must make sure the money works for you. So if you look at the example I have in here, this is an example of what happened in the UK. If someone that had £5 in the UK in 1980 probably will have a basket full of food, but 20 years later in 2000, you can see the basket is reduced. That same £5 in 2022 or 2021 probably will buy only less than a quarter. And that is basically what they call purchasing power of the money. The purchasing power is the value of that currency expressed in terms of what can they afford to buy for you, or what service can they get for you. If I look at a typical example, in the 80s, probably one could buy a house, let's say in somewhere in highbrow area in any city. Let's say, for example, in Lagos, let's say somewhere in Ikoyi, probably for maybe 300,000. It's possible. It's not even less than that. But that same 300,000 will not even buy you even a land in the outskirts of Lagos now. Let's not say this now. Even though the same person had the money in their bank account, 3,000 is still there, but that money is not buying the same thing. Why? Because the purchasing power of that money has reduced, and that is why it is good for you to invest your money to give you a return. At least if you're able to get a return that is more than inflation, then that means basically your money is growing. But if you were to keep your money in a safe, or you were to invest it in anything that is giving you anything less than inflation, that means basically you're not getting enough interest.
Absolutely.
It's one of the reasons why you will realize that a lot of Nigerian banks now are no longer investing heavily any longer in treasury bills. Because the inflation rate in Nigeria is higher than the rate that the Central Bank of Nigeria is paying on the treasury bills.
Yes.
And they realize that in real terms, they're losing money by putting in treasury bills. It's only when they realize that the last resort that they don't have anywhere to put the money, they're willing to do that. And that is why even when you look at banks generally, when they charge you interest, when you those who do economics or accounting, one of the things they will tell you is that the interest rate you pay is inflation plus a particular amount. So when I'm charging you interest, if I get a return that is higher than inflation, that means basically in real terms I'm making money. But if my return is lower than inflation, that means in real time I'm actually losing money. Even if I'm getting more. If inflation was 10% and I'm charging you 8%, in the real time, value of that money has dropped. So I have to get it back from you. But if what I'm getting from you is that of return is higher than inflation, I'm getting money. And that is the reason why you can't just leave your money in a safe or even in a bank in a fixed deposit and watch it. Because in real time, you're actually losing money. And that's exactly what I've tried to portray in this slide you have here. You can see inflation eating into the money. Because if your rate of return you're getting on any investment you're doing, if it's lower than inflation, then you're not making money, you're losing money. And that is why it's important for everyone to understand the rate of inflation in any country they operate in. If whatever return they're getting is lower, in actual fact, you're actually losing money. And that is one of the reasons I always encourage people. Invest your money in an asset that probably also grow with inflation or even more than inflation. So that when you try to realize the asset and provide cash, you're probably going to make more money than keeping it in the bank or keeping it just under your pillow.
Absolutely.
So to create wealth, you must make sure anywhere you invest your money that the rate of return you're getting is higher than inflation. If it's same as inflation, basically you've not lost out, you've made money. If it's lower than inflation, you more or less destroy the money that you have. Now, one of the things that helps when it comes to investing is compound interest. If I was to give 300 pounds at the rate of 10% per annum, I'm going to get 330 at the end of 1 year. If that same money were to be reinvested at that same 10%, that money after the second year, basically I'll get about 363. And if that continues, you realize that after year 3, I'm getting almost about 400 pounds. Despite the fact that I'm only getting 10%. It's because of the concept of compounding interest. And that is why Albert Einstein mentioned that compound interest is the eighth wonder of the world. Because if you understand it,
you earn it,
then it pays for you. And it's one of the things that most those who actually have a huge wealth always make sure they take note of. It helps you to understand how you can actually grow your wealth. If you don't do that, then you may think you're actually making money, but in actual fact, you're actually losing money. Look at how much you have, how high the interest rate is, and how long you're actually trying to keep the money. And one of the ways that people invest money is by investing in the stock market. I invest in the stock market. I used to do it in Nigeria when I was in Nigeria, and I still do it in the UK. And the pandemic has produced a very huge opportunity for people to make a lot of money during this pandemic. One of the things I tell people is that this pandemic period is one of the best for me in terms of investment. I'm not happy with the way people are dying. I'm not happy with people losing their job. I'm not happy with the way things have become unstable and people are having ill health. I also tested positive for a COVID. Thankfully, I recovered.
Thank God.
Investment wise, it's one of the best best years ever
Hmm.
for me because it produced an opportunity to actually invest in so many companies that were out of reach before. And now that the pandemic is basically almost,
And they are
let me say,
recovering.
gradually
Yeah.
being contained, what is happening that some of these businesses are now going back to way. So it's produced opportunity for people to make money. So talking about stock market, you will see over time that those who actually invest in stock market, they always outperform those who probably maybe invest in housing or any form of investment. So if you look at the first one in Great Britain, the graph at the top, which is this one, is basically if you were to invest in stock market, look at the FTSE. Is the return on it is higher than those who actually invested money in housing. Similarly, also in the US, you will see the same graph. The S&P, that's the top 500 companies, the US, the return on them between 1991 and 2016 far outweighed those who actually put their money maybe buying real estate. And if you look at the wonderful Australia, you will see the same also that basically shares in this case also outperformed the housing, those who invest in real estate. So in general, stock market is a way where people actually invest money and give them good return. But I must emphasize that stock market is a high risk. It has its own risk. For those who want to go into it, you need to understand exactly what exactly they are going into. And that is why it's important to understand some of the risk involved, what's the element of risk that you can take.
Yeah.
And then make sure your risk appetite is matched to the kind of investment you're doing. There are a lot of ways you can actually invest in money in. The key thing is you must understand what exactly you want. So let me give an example of some of the companies that are listed on the stock market over time and how what would have happened if you had done it. If someone had invested in Amazon in 1997, one share would be worth about 37,659.
Wow.
Let's say about $40,000 now.
Wow.
Someone that invested in one share of Microsoft in 1986, that same share, based on bonus shares and all these things that have gone over the years, is worth about 60,120. Those who invested in Coca-Cola in 1919, that same money is worth about $500,000. Someone will say, but if I were to check the stock market today, that's not how much it's saying for years. You're right. But the truth is that over time, most of these companies have done split shares, they've done bonus shares, they've given additional bonus. So if you have all those shares together for just one share, that is the value that you have right now. I will give an example. The first time I bought Amazon shares, I bought it in about 2009, 2010. And that was about $40 per share in Amazon. If you were to check Amazon today, a single share on Amazon is selling for $3,000. Between 2010, that's about 11 years. Between 2010 and now, Amazon is moved from $40 or $50 to $3,000 per share now. So there are good returns you can get if you get the right investment in the stock market. However, there are also risks involved. For those who invested in Blockbuster or Kodak or Lehman Brothers, they will have lost all their money also because basically the business will fall down. That's why I said there's an element of risk involved. But if you were to invest in Blockbuster and you realize that maybe in general economy is moving in a different direction, you could sell your share and move away. But I just need to point out that it's not every time that you make money. Sometimes you lose money. For a good investor, the key thing is you must understand what is the element of risk involved. Educate yourself and also understand how to mitigate those risks. If you invest in, what you're trying to do is to generate and also to preserve wealth. It is not just to just hold and hold and hold. You need to understand when to sell and when to buy. So there are some principles of when it comes to investment that I'm going to list there. I'm not going to go into all of them. So what I have here is about 9 principles when it comes to investing. If you're investing, most time you think long term. Can this investment actually last for a long time? Or is it a business that probably not survived test of time? So if the investment is good enough, then you're okay. You must have a realistic goal. Why are you doing investment? Am I investing because I want to make the money for my primary school, and I need the money for them. So that helps you to define what's the duration of the money and how long you want to put it for. So the investment I'm doing will help me to achieve that target. Otherwise, you may end up investing in something that probably has a longer duration than what you need the money. And then there's a mismatch. If the investment has not given you the right return, you may end up selling at a loss. Then also, you must understand your own behavior. You don't need to be erratic. Because sometimes the market will go up and down. If you panic and you were to sell, you may sell at a loss. But if you were to hold on, probably you may even make better. Then you need to understand the kind of risk you have. You need to do your homework, which is basically doing analysis. And there are some habits every investor must have. And don't put all your egg in one basket. Don't invest everything. For example, only in shares. You can invest some of your money in funds. You can invest some of your money also in, now some people do currency, but I don't do it because of the risk. But it's not part of my risk appetite. Cryptocurrency, for those who are interested in it, you can also invest some of the money in real estate. You can invest some of the money in any form of investment you think you understand. And also understand the risk and return element of that same business. And never defer investment. It's never too late or too early to start investment. If you've missed the boat for 5, 10, 15 years, there's no better time to start than now, especially when we look at the issue. So the first one, because of the time, I'll just try and gloss through most of them. The first one is about always think about long term. Don't buy and invest in the market because everyone is saying it's a way to go. You have to think about the long term. Will this business thrive? The company grow? How will things grow? For example, some people think about, I want to invest in a company probably that have a lot of shops. But the way pandemic has happened, a lot of things have been done online now. Do I think investing in a company that has loads of stores all over the nation is the way out? The answer may be no. So I may say, look, I would rather look for a business that does the same thing, but probably they are more of online or a mix of online and high street presence. That will help me to say, look, I know probably if the shopping habits continue the way it is right now, where people do it online, that means my business I can actually see the business growing. So you have to always embrace long term and think about market volatility because market always moves up and down. And when you're doing your investments, you must have a realistic goal.
Absolutely.
Why am I doing investments? Is it for my pension? Is it my retirement? Is it because I want to get married in the next 5 years and I need money to do who I'm there? Or is it because I'm investing and I want to send my kids to school? Or I want to buy a property? Why are you doing it? Have a very clear objective of what you want to do. Why are you doing investment? And make sure the investment you're doing actually will match what you want. Okay, and then an investment that will give me a return of this amount. So this is the amount I need. Don't speculate that an investment is going to give you about 20%. When in actual fact, in the track record, it gives only about 5-10%. You're not being realistic. So that's why every goal needs to be smart, specific, measurable, achievable, realistic, and timely. So when you're doing any investment, either in stock market or in real estate or in commodities, whatever the investment may be, you need to have clear and realistic investment goal. So there must be a vision. So the question is, how do you want to meet your investment objective? Is it because you want to retire, like is it because you want to study up for retirement, or you're thinking about doing something in the next 5, 10 years, or 15 years, or 25 years? You have to have a very specific goal. I'll give an example here of someone that probably wants to retire in the next couple of years. Person is, let's say, age 25, and is putting aside £100 every month. And the person is getting a return of 12%. If the individual is going to retire at the age, if you look at the graph here, at the age of, let's say, 65, what's going to happen is that if the person is investing £100 and getting a return of this amount, or 12%, after 40 years, which is going to be about 65 years, the individual will have about 1 million. Just mere investment of £100 every month and getting a return of 12% per annum. person is going to get about 1.1 million at the end of the year. That is the power of compounding investment. You just need to take long term. That amount may be small, but over time it becomes very big. If I look at the different scenario, someone that is 40 years investing about 750, getting a return of about 6%, and after 25 years, I'm assuming that they're going to retire at the age of 65, what will happen is that the person will have about £528,000 in their pot. They're getting a return of 6% on 750. After 25 years, the return they're going to get, if it's 6% per annum, is they're going to have a pot of about £528,000 to play around with. And that is an equivalent of maybe 60K for every year they're going to live after retirement. If someone basically is trying to plan for a retirement, so my child is going to go to maybe university in the next 10 years, I want to set aside £250 every year, and I'm hoping every month, I'm hoping to get a return of 8%. After 10 years, the person will have about £46,000 in the investment pot that he or she can then use to pay for this the child's tuition fee. So the key thing is basically you need to have your goal set clearly and make sure it's realistic. And as I mentioned before, in actual fact, stock market is always up and down, it's volatile. But overall, if you look at the graph of most markets, they are always on the way up. Even though they'll be coming up and down, but if you draw the graph and you look at the gradient, it's always the way up. If you look at this 2008, that was basically the last financial crisis that happened. And 2018, we had a 2020. If this was extended to end of 2020, we'll have said also this also was a dip. But for end of 2020, in actual fact, it went up for those who were in talks, the tech market. Then the other point, or one of the financial principles also to note is we need to learn how to delay gratification. Some of us want to invest now and we want to get a return right away. It doesn't always work that way. You have to think of things. On the average, what I always tell people is that when you invest in many markets, look at it 3 to 5 years minimum. If your return is quicker than that, but don't invest with the hope of actually making money within 2 months, 3 months, 6 months. We have to always think about long term. And the other thing also is we need to look at our behavior. If the market is on the way down and you panic and you want to sell, you'll end up losing more money. We need to always think about the psychology of an investor. When you're investing for the long term and not the short term. How do I make sure I don't allow my emotions to rule my investment principles or my investment strategy? Otherwise, if I look at that, I may not end up making the money that I want to invest. The principle number 4 is know what kind of investor you are. There are different types of investors. If you look, there are investors that are speculative, that they just follow the noise. Everyone is saying Amazon is the way to go. Jump on it. Or corn oil is the way to go. Dangote sugar is the way to go. Without basically looking at the market. There are some investors that are in nature, they are defensive. They rather are passive and they wait. They'll think about long term. They are not just jumping into anything. And also we have investors that we call enterprising. They are very aggressive. They just want to make sure that they exceed expectation, they exceed whatever everyone is doing. But also they think long term. So one of the things everyone needs to understand is that we need to move away from the mentality of being speculative. Sometimes it may be speculative and it may work out for you. A good investor probably will combine all this together. However, they will do less speculative. There was a time last year that everyone was talking about Tesla, and many people went to Tesla. And at the end of the year, they made huge money. But someone will have gone in at the wrong time and they probably end up losing money by being speculative. But you need to do your homework. Understand the kind of investor that you have. You need to know exactly what is the type of risk you can take. And the risk you can take will be influenced by several factors. For example, if someone that is single, you'll be willing to take more risk than someone that is married. Because as a married person, you're thinking about maybe your spouse, you're thinking about your siblings, you're thinking about all your commitments. As a result of that, you don't want to take too much risk. if someone has a partner, maybe a spouse that probably is doing well also, you can say, look, I can take more risk because if anything happens to my money, I can leave them as spouse income. If I have children also, dependents, my kids go to private school, that shows is I can't risk too much money. If I were going to inherit money from parents or from anyone, I can take more risk. So there are several factors that affect the level of risk you can take. Some will be a higher risk taker and some will not be. So the bottom line is you need to understand your own risk elements. What is your risk appetite and what kind of nature do you have? The other principle is principle 5. To work. You need to do your analysis. I gave an example before of a company, Amazon. This graph that you're having here is the graph of how Amazon has performed in terms of share price over time. If you look at from 1997, how it went up to about $80 in 2000, and it came down to about $12 in 2001. You will have seen clearly that basically there are issues that probably some people will have panicked. But those who understood the market and said, look, Amazon is selling online, the cost of selling business is coming down. Over time, they're going to make money. And then, did their work. Some will have bought more, or some will have said, look, I'm not doing. So those who sold Amazon probably when it was around $80, or maybe those who sold when it came down about $40, will be looking at and be biting their fingers now that, look, if I had known, I probably would have waited till now. Now that Amazon is selling for about $3,000. Now to find it went to about 3,003 until there were a lot of panic in the market in the last, let me say, 3 weeks or 4 weeks, and it came down. So you need to do your math, look at the business you're investing in, and make sure you understand it. So then the principle number 6 is you have to cultivate good investment habits. When we're talking about good investment habits, that means basically trying to make sure you have a mentality of always investing. There's a principle that is being proposed by Aaron Pallock. Every month, set aside a particular percentage to invest. It's a habit that I will encourage us to do. You may invest in anything, but make sure, like some religions will tell you, maybe put aside a particular percentage to invest, maybe to give to a charity or to give to your religious organization. Satan also have the same mentality when it comes to investment. That this percentage, when the income comes in, no matter what's coming in as the absolute that month, I'm setting aside a percentage and it is going toward investments. It helps you to build a habit that will help you to prosper in your old age. So that is one of the principles that you must cultivate a habit of always thinking about investing. For me, I have a percentage. I have a direct debit signing order from my account every month. It's whatever is left in my account after I've taken out my amount I'm investing, the amount that goes to maybe for my charity donation and my local church. The rest is basically what I spend. And that's for my mortgage and whatever is left. So the whole idea is make sure you have a habit of always investing. And there's a book called Self Habits of Highly Effective Investor. Some of the things that they will tell you is that you have to save early, start early, save, and I'll do it automatically. And also decide how to set aside the investment, which portfolio you want to invest in. And if you invest in anything, make sure the cost of that investment is low. And if you work for a company that they have benefit for staff, always try as much as possible to take advantage of it. But it helps you in the long run to reduce your outflow. This is an example of the implication of the cost of investing. I'm not going to go into all this, but what this is trying to show is that if you invest in any particular fund, let's say in the market, and you're paying the cost that is higher than the other one, in the long run, it may cost you more. So if you look at the example, what I have it here, if I had someone investing, let's say about £20,000 in a fund over a period of 10 years, and is giving a return of 5%. If one is giving 1.5% and the other one is giving charging 1.5% and another one is 2.5%, there's a huge difference it makes when it comes to the amount.
Wow.
For example, if you look at the example 2, let me give it that. I will look at example 2. I have £100,000 that I want to invest in 2 options. I have 2 investment portfolios, and both of them are giving 6.5%, and I want to invest the money for 30 years. If the first investment opportunity is charging 0.4% fee, and the second one is charging 1.4%, or is it just 1% difference? So it's not material. But in actual fact, if you back out the 0.4% from the 6.5 and the 1.4% from the 6.5 for the second portfolio, what you realize is that at the end of the 30 years, the portfolio 1 that is charging only 0.4% will give you a return of £590,000 at a rate of 6.5. But the portfolio 2 that is charging 1.4%, which is about 1% higher, but because it's been for over 30 years, will give you only about 434,715. So between the 2, you will have lost about £146,000 within that 30 years, just for 1% difference.
Absolutely.
Because sometimes we look at it, it's not that material. But what I'm trying to buttress is that sometimes when you're investing, you need to look at the cost of that investment.
Absolutely.
If you have an alternative investment that is not as costly as that, and it gives similar return, you'll be better off actually going for that particular investment.
Yeah.
Then the seventh principle is you need to learn to diversify. Don't put all your eggs in one basket. Don't say all the money I have, I'm going to put this money on stock markets. You may need to consider other ways of also investing, either in real estate, investing in businesses, home businesses, investing maybe in bonds, investing in funds. We have mentioned different types of investment we can do. That helps you to make sure, in case there's a problem with any type of investment you're doing, you know the other ones are maybe not exposed to the same thing. So it helps you to make sure that if anything happens to one investment, the other money you have is also secure and safe. And one of the things you need to do is to make sure you decide how to split your money. You may decide based on your investment needs, on the demand you need, but you just need to make sure you split your money. There are a lot of things that people always propose, but it depends on you as an individual, how you want to split your money, how do you want to spread your money over time. And the investment principle 8 is you need to understand risk and return. There's this saying that the higher the risk, the higher the return. For example, the return on bonds may be lower than that of stock market. Why? Because if you buy bonds from a company that is well established, that is not going to collapse, they will charge you, maybe they'll pay you maybe 3%. But if it's a risky business, basically they will pay 6% because they know the risk they carry is higher. So they're giving you more return for having that faith in them. So the more the risk you take, the higher the return. So if you borrow money from investing in, let's say, in a bond issued by a government or in treasury bills, the rates they're going to give you is always going to be lower compared to buying, let's say, a bond that is issued by a company. Because there's always an assumption that governments don't go bust. So as a result of that, the return they give to you, the interest they pay you on other treasury bills or any bonds they issue, is always going to be low. So the higher the risk, the higher the return. The lower the risk, also the lower the return. So you need to understand the risk and return and make sure you manage your risk very well. If you look at the graph I have here, it's just like a simple graph to show you the risk and the return. So treasury bills is issued by governments. The return you're going to get is going to be low. For example, some of them are as low as 1% now for those in the Western world. If they issue a bond, it's a bit higher because the risk is a bit higher than normal treasury bills. Then you have federal government bonds, the corporate bonds. These are issued by companies and individuals, and also within company, some will be higher depending on how they've been rated. If the company is deemed to be higher risk, the return also has to be higher. The rate they will be paying higher. But if the company is deemed to be one of these top companies in the world, say, look, they are paying a lower rate because they feel they are not taking too much of a risk by giving them your money because it's guaranteed, always guaranteed. You're going to get your money back. So this graph is showing basically what's the risk and what is the return you're likely to get depending on what type of investment you do. And the principle number 9, is that it's never too late to start. If you've missed out investing in the past, best time to start is now. It's not only in the stock market you can invest your money. As I said at the beginning, you can invest your money any type of asset as long as it's giving you a return. The key thing you need to look at is it going to give you a return that is higher than inflation? If the answer is yes, then yes, then you're creating wealth. If the answer is no, then basically you may not actually be making money over time. Because if the inflation is higher, in actual fact, your value of your money is coming down. And there is this rule of 72 that people will tell you, if some of that are familiar with it. The rule of 72 says if you're getting a particular return, use that interest or the return you're getting by divided by 72. Whatever number you get will tell you when the money you're investing is going to double. Let me give an example. If I had investment in a bond, or let me say in shares, and on the average, I get 6% every year.
Yeah.
So 6% I will use to divide 72. That is 12. That tells me that whatever money I invest after 12 years, that money is going to double in value. If I was getting an investment that's giving, let's say, about 8% per annum, it tells me that I use 8 to divide 72, that's 9. That means whatever money I were to invest, let's say one-off money that I invested in this lump sum, let's say 100,000. That means in the 9th year, that 100,000 will have doubled. The rule of 72 try to help investors understand when their money is likely to double. And that's one of the things that people always consider when they try to do investment. That's, look, when is my money going to double? And when basically I need to work hard if I need my money to double, or it's the same calculation. So this is where I should give room for more questions before I now try to delve into explaining maybe some of the types of investments that we have. I would have gone into a lot of more detail. I have some of the slides talking about what is bond, how you can actually classify. I'm conscious of the time. We can classify bonds, what type of bonds we have. Also, the stock markets. What are different types of stock markets? But I'm conscious of the time, and I don't want to go into too much detail and not cover everything. So probably I'm going to stop there and hand over to Mr. Tunde Osheni.
Mr. Agbedeyi, I really must thank you. Honestly, and this is not me doing cliches. This is not me just doing, the normal thing people say after a wonderful presentation. Really, this is deep. This is in depth. And you know what? I just want to. I wanted. There are a few questions. I saw a few questions flying in the chat place. I wanted to take sufficient time to really answer people's questions because Agbedeyi, we really need to have you back. We really have to have you back. I know you're very busy. Getting you for this one was tough enough, and because for those who do not know, Agbedeyi does this on, it's just one of the things he enjoys doing, helping people to make a success of their lives financially. And I know that for the church he attends, if I'm correct, that's New Wine Church. This is the kind of thing he does on a regular basis to help people out there as well. And I really must appreciate you. I really thank you for accepting our because quite 95% of the guests that we bring here, they're very brilliant. They talk about the security situation. They talk about politics. They talk, but the business side of it, helping not just the business, talking about government, what they do, but this one is personal too. Those of us who are within this organization, it's also personal to all those outside there. And I've seen quite a few people glued and watching this. I've seen quite a lot of concurrent views in some of the social media or some of the streams. So for me, it just indicates that this has gripped one or two people out there. And rather than we allowing you to pour everything into this, yes, we must. I thank you so much, Comrade Ayele, for that. I totally agree with you. For me, I would rather we spent a few more minutes with us to answer questions, delve into details, and then we agree on a date when he's less busy to to take the part 2 of this. I actually believe that's the best option. So, Mr. Agbedeyi, there are already a few questions in the chat, and I believe they maybe I'm being selfish because I also love the tone of those questions. There are things I want to learn from. Where's the first one? It says, okay, they want to float the Nigeria Stock Exchange. That's the stock exchange itself. How can I invest in the listing? Well, I'm sure you understand the question, and I think I saw this news item myself, and it's something that also interests me as a person, and that's why I said maybe I'm being selfish in going to these questions. And I believe that our panelists as well will also have a few questions of their own. The in-house panelists, just so we can. What we're going to do is now aggregate the questions that come, because even after we do the program during the week, you get a lot of questions on social media from those who watch a bit of it, and so we can aggregate it for when you come next. So back to that question, I know I saw it in the newspapers that the Nigeria Stock Exchange is going to be a PLC. So this gentleman, well, I believe is a gentleman from the name, is a man, is asking, how can I invest in the listing?
Okay. Well, investment in generally in maybe a company that's listed, there are different ways you can invest in it. When a company is trying to come to the market for the first time, we call it IPO, initial public offer.
Mm.
There are different routes you can take to list a company on the stock exchange. So in the case of Nigeria Stock Exchange, I'm not sure if maybe you sorted out the fractal modalities. Sometimes what companies do is that before going to the general public to do the initial public offer, sometimes some of them, what it is that they allowed for what is called private placement, i.e., they will open the investment to, first of all, institutional investors that will bring in loads and loads of money. And those that bring their money in, they will pay a particular price. We're going to list the NSE on the NSE itself as a PLC.
Wow.
If we tell them every share you're going to buy is 50 naira per share, that could be probably the price maybe the private investor are going to do, because they are allowed to do what is called private placement. But they're going to buy huge volume of the shares. Then after that, the NSE can actually now we're now going to get listed on the stock exchange, and then we can now have open to the general public to now buy in the company. In that case, whatever price that you get on that day is where you can buy. So if they were listed, then everybody's going to buy that price will go from 50 naira per share to 75, to 85, depending on how much you're able to buy.
Absolutely.
But some companies don't go the route of private placement. Some companies say no. Everybody will be given equal chance to do investment in the public offer. So you apply for shares and they will allocate shares to you. So if you're lucky to be one of the people that they allocate shares, you may apply for, let's say, 1,000 shares. They may say because application for 2 million shares, because we only have 1 million shares to offer. So as a result of that, we said everybody will only get a maximum of 100 shares. And they may allocate the shares to you at whatever price that they set. So everybody will get equal shares, or will decide how much they allocate to each person. But it's going to be the same value. And if you want more, when the company is now listed on the exchange, then you can now decide to buy at whatever the prevailing prices on the market. So I'm not sure yet what the route NSC is trying to do. If they choose to do the private placement, you may not get it at the initial price. It may be the price when it gets to the list in the market you can get. Or they may go the second route dimension, whereby they will open it to everybody. Then you will apply. They will tell you how many shares they've allocated to you. And then once it's listed, if you want more, you can then buy depending on what the price is going for on the market. But the initial price will be based on the valuation. Every business will be valued. You will value the business. Okay, the business is well, about 20 billion naira. Then they will decide, okay, we're going to issue 10 million shares. So they would say 2 billion divided by 10 million shares. This is the amount each person will pay for the shares. So for those who are involved in the initial public offer, they will pay the unit price of price is going
is
for
in
in the
value.
market. So if your broker was able to buy it for you at maybe £100, 100 naira, that's what you're going to pay. If they were able to buy at 150, that's what you're going to pay. But that would be different from the price you have paid if you were one of the people that were allotted shares. But if you're not lucky enough with this allocation, either as a private placement, which most private placements most time is always open to only select individuals and mostly, let me say, institutional investors, if they go that route. But if they go the route of listening to everybody, which I think is like what they're going to do, they're going to open it to everybody because it's a public, let me say, entity. I suspect they will put the second route of allowing people to apply, and then they will allocate shares to people. But if they don't give you enough shares to buy, you can actually put it secondary market. When it's listed, you can buy more shares as you like, and then watch your investment grow. Or sometimes when investments are listed, first of all, price will always shoot up. If you are going to be patient, I would say sometimes you wait for it to stabilize. Sometimes when it gets to a peak, it will drop down a little bit, and then you cannot buy more. Whatever equity you have, and then watch it grow. So you can buy from the stock market itself when it gets listed. But if they go the route of private placement and they open it to everybody, you can actually apply also get shares in it. But they will announce the route they're trying to follow, and then you can see which one to adopt. I hope I answered that question.
In fact, please, can you indicate?
Sorry, you're on mute.
Oh, sorry. Thank you. Sorry, I always try to unmute myself as well. To mute myself. I do believe so. Except there is a follow up from the person who asked the question. Let me just. That's. Okay, just 1 minute. Comrade Dennis Agaye Hako. Incidentally, the photo that is on that profile, that's Africa, if I remember him that well. I'm sure Agbedeyi you will remember Africa as well. Was he in Niger House? In Niger, he was in Niger House, I think. I think he was in Niger House. Okay, thank you. Okay, it was Oshun House. Yeah, Africa. May he continue to rest well. So the next one. Please also talk. Okay, I've seen it. Thank you so much for saying that. Please also talk of annuity. Can I invest when I turn 40 next year? Yeah.
Okay. Annuity, basically, you can invest anytime. Annuity in general is basically a principle that says if you were to invest your money, you can actually come up and invest in your scheme that will give you a set amount of money every time for the rest of your life or for a fixed period.
Yeah.
For example, there's an annuity scheme that is available for those who are, let me use a simple example, pensioners. If they gather their pension from a particular age up to, let's say, 65 years, on retirement, let's say the person had an investment of, let's say, 10 million naira. The person will approach maybe an insurance company or a bank and say, look, I want to buy annuity. What they will do is that they will assess the individual and say, look, from what we can assess, you can see that you are 65 years. If you look at your health condition, we think you're going to live for another 30 years. So another 30 years. So they will say, look, based on 20 million you have, we can give you fixed amounts every month or every year for the rest of your life. If you live to 120, we'll give that same amount. So annuity is giving a fixed amount every month or every year, depending on what is being agreed to whoever is doing the investment. So if the person ends up living for 200 years, that's his luck. The investment will keep paying the same amount. If the person ends up living for only 2 years, that's also his luck. Because they've done the calculation, they feel for the rest of your life, you're going to pay your amount. Some companies also have investment that basically is fixed. They will say, look, we're going to give you this amount for 20 years. It's not going to be for the rest of your life, it's going to be for 20 years. So if you're asking about annuity, if you want to invest in it, the answer is yes, it's good for investment, but you have to consider what exactly are you going to be getting. Does it meet your requirements? Does it really, the return you're giving to you? Because one of the things that happened in the UK market for a while was that the because there was not enough competition in the UK, a lot of the insurance companies at the banks that were offering annuity were undercutting those who were buying annuity. So there was a reform that happened in the UK, I think in the 2010, and it gave people rights not to buy annuity if they didn't want to, especially pensioners.
Yeah.
And as a result of that reform, the market became more competitive. And the companies offering annuity were offering something better because they realized that people choose not to buy annuity. So one of the things you need to do also as individuals is check, number one, why am I willing to buy annuity? Is it because I like the return I'm going to be getting from it? If the answer is yes, go for it. Or is there an alternative that I can actually invest my money in that probably will give me same return or even better return? One of the things that people started doing after the reform was done in the UK was that people said, instead of buying annuity with my money, I'd rather go and buy maybe a house with that money. And then probably the house will appreciate, and then I'm going to be getting rents from it, which I'm sure even that rent will increase from time to time. So that was going to be whatever money I'm getting from it, I'll assume it's my own annuity that I need to be getting. And as a result of that, people realized when the companies that were offering annuity realized that there was competition, people could make that decision. We were offering something better. So before you set it down for annuity, I will ask you, consider, are there other options I can actually explore? If the answer is yes, look at the analysis and look at the risk and reward involved. If you think the annuity is better, then go for the annuity. But if you think the annuity is not, then I would say if you explore the other opportunity, that probably will give you a better return. But can you go for annuity? The answer is yes. But make sure you do your calculation before you search for it.
My God, I basically, I see quite a lot of advertisements in Nigeria and in the United Kingdom, even in the US. I see for this kind of investment seminar, investment platform, and quite a lot of times they're priced, and they're really priced heavily. And I've had cause to also look at contents in on a few occasions, and they've been, I can't even say they're 5% of the content that we've gotten from you today, Agbedeyi. I must really commend you, and I must thank you. Before we open the floor for our colleagues here, we're only going to take maybe maximum 2 questions or thereabout. This person is still, I think it's the same person or somebody else. Oh, okay. No, this is my question actually. So it's because I've posted 1 or 2 that I've seen from people. So I've posted it in the chat. I want. Oh no, okay. This one is just a comment. I've gotten an insight tonight for another investment starting from next month. I've gotten an insight tonight for another investment starting from next month. That's good. And the response was, that's the goal and pivotal essence of today's session. Fantastic. I love that. So I've posted another question here, and this one is from my YouTube channel. I want a lifetime annuity, but they're saying I can only get it at 50. At 50, is this correct?
In terms of the annuity is a product, and it's offered by companies, and it varies from company to company. So what you need to do, whoever is asking the question, is that shop around, look for other companies that are also offering annuity. I'm not sure the location of this person is. The person is, I'm not sure where the country the person is. So you need to look at where you are, which other companies are offering the same product, and see if you can get anyone that probably is going to offer you something earlier than 50. If all of them are saying the same thing, maybe as per the statutory requirements of that country, then probably you may not be able to get below that. But it varies from country to country, and also depends on certain products that have been offered. Some statutory requirement is at 50 years, but because we want to corner a particular niche in the market, some we can allow you to have it maybe earlier than that. So that is why I'm saying check the market, shop around, look for companies companies that offer similar products and see if there's anyone that can offer you 450 years. But it depends on the country you're located in, and it depends on basically the kind of competition that is available in that particular space. So if the competition is high, it's possible that you see someone, maybe a particular company that is willing to break rank. Let me that was from the rest of the group. Because they're trying to corner
the market.
The niche of the market. If all of them are on the same boat, probably there is nothing you can do. You have to wait until you see. But as I mentioned before, apart from annuity, there could be other ways you can actually structure the same thing that probably will give you the same return or even better. But the whole idea is think out of the box, shop around, and see if you can get something better.
Wow, thank you so much for that. And for me, that's pretty. Like I said, the very first question was that also is something that I was very much interested in. But having said that, this I really like the angle you brought in about annuity and some people now going for property. The fact is property, it actually more often than not actually appreciates, except on the rare occasion like the financial crisis, the meltdown, and of course getting your rent from your tenant on a monthly basis is your annuity. These things, until you get professionals to actually break them down for you, they sound so difficult. So I do hope somebody there has actually picked that up. It's such a simple fact, but even just listening to Agbedeyi explaining this, it actually brings it home to me in more, in a clearer perspective. And I really, really must appreciate you for that. So we're going to take just one or two questions maximum because we need to finish at on the dot of past. Is there any question in the house? Anybody wants to ask a question? Any of the in-house panelists? Anybody? Oladaya Falabi, we're just going to take your questions and that will be the end of it. Okay. Shola Fahimi has unmuted. Okay, Shola, you go on. Sekjen, you go on.
Yes, right. I don't have a question already now, but I only want to appreciate Mr. Agbedeyi for the financial insights, for how well he was able to open our eyes to opportunities and how to actually self-sustaining and to also invest. In all, many of us have actually learned new things. Many of us were exposed to issues surrounding financial investment and some other things that initially we didn't even think about. So, for me, I sincerely want to appreciate him, and like people have always been clamoring, we also want to have him with us once again because we always want to learn from the fountain of knowledge of people who have gone ahead of us for us to also go higher. So I want to sincerely appreciate Mr. Agbedeyi for this fortunate session. That's just a take from me. Thank you, sir.
Thank you so much, Mr. Sekjen. It's actually done. It's done great justice to the subject tonight, and I on behalf of this organization, I'm really, really grateful. I'm very grateful for your time in coming tonight. Is all I thought Oladaya Falabi, did you signify to ask a question? Okay, if you did not signify, I believe, like I said earlier, I believe that we should aggregate all the questions, just so that because okay, thank you so much. Okay, I was just trying to find out. So that because I kind of suspect that you've only delivered uh, maybe 60 to 70% of your content tonight, and for me, that is also in Nollywood they do the blockbusters in such a way that you're getting they're preparing you for the for the follow-up for part two, and I just want to all those watching and all those with questions on social media, I want to apologize that we're not going further than this today just because of our time, but by the grace of the living God, we'll be bringing Emmanel Agbedeyi back. Now, Agbedeyi, just before you go, since we have just about 3-4 minutes, Nigeria's debt profile. A few days back, I believe it was Bismarck Rewane, of financial derivatives. He expressed serious concern about it. And quite a lot of people are expressing the same concern. But there's some people still feel Nigeria is not too leveraged. What is your opinion on this?
Okay, I think personally as a Nigerian, I'm more than concerned about the profile of Nigeria. Because the truth is that if people are trying to compare Nigeria with the likes of the UK and the US, I think they're wrong. Because that's probably those who are probably not concerned are looking at actually. If you look compare the debt size, that of the UK or US is minimum. But in reality, the economy is not the same. That's the truth. So if you look at every economy, first question is that what exactly are they generating? What is the income that the economy is making? And every year, what is their reserve size? If you look at what has been happening in the last couple of years, we're running a deficit budget. What we spend is far, far more than basically what we generate. And if you're spending the money on infrastructure, you know clearly the infrastructure is going to generate income for you in the future and then help you to repay back a lot of the debts you have incurred. But in reality, in the case of Nigeria, a large chunk of the money does not even make its way into the economy. The large chunk of the debts that we're incurring does not even make their way to the economy. Some of them actually go into private pockets. Some of them are even shared before they go to the country. So what you're doing is that you're incurring debts to pay private individuals. And then the money is not used to, let me say, to build infrastructures that probably will help you generate more income to repay those debts back in future. And if you look at the size, what is happening is that you're incurring debt for future generations, and even when they get to a age that is meant to be paying back, there's no infrastructure to support it to help them pay back the money. And currently, our main source of income right now is crude oil. The reality is that with the way the world is going, the demand for crude oil will start coming down gradually over time. Because everyone is talking about going electric, trying to go green, trying to reduce the reliance on hydrocarbon. So as a result, the demand is coming down. The price also, there will be a pressure on the price. And that is why you've seen that we've been struggling for a while because of the fact that when it went over $100, it came down to as low as $80, and we're not able to balance our budget. And that trend is going to continue for a foreseeable future. And if people start moving gradually away, a lot of the cars are moving away from buying diesel or petrol, and they're going electric. The demand for the petrol is going to come down. And that's the main source of income right now for Nigeria. So the question is that, where are you going to get the money to service the debt from? If you're incurring the money debt to build infrastructure, and those infrastructure can actually pay back, then I'm not worried. But right now, I can't really see all the infrastructure that we're incurring. I'm not saying that basically we can't see some of them. Some of them are being built, but if you look at the cost benefits, the cost far, far outweigh the benefits. Because the large of the money are not at issue. Some of the projects that are being executed are not just bloated, they are over exaggerated. So you're expecting you take a loan of let's say about $100 billion, but eventually you only spend about 40, let's say 60 billion to build the infrastructure. And you're expecting the infrastructure of 60 billion to be repaying interest of 100 billion and also repay back 100 billion. It's almost impossible. And some of the infrastructure that we are actually built are not strategic in nature. Some of them are built in the locations whereby you would not generate anything that will repay back some of these loans. Some of them are being built because of the fact that you're trying to build certain geographic, geopolitical zone. And they are not going to generate anything at all. So where is the money going to come from? Who's going to pay for it? And that is where you're going to see that over time, which is where you see some countries, the people giving us a loan, especially China, are going to be taking over some of our strategic assets to pay back this, and they know what they're doing. So say if you don't take over these assets to pay back some of this loan, and that is where the future generation are going to have challenges. Those who are saying they're not afraid, they're not concerned. It's because they're trying to compare how poor and not rich. You can't compare Nigeria with a country like UK or US or Germany. That's okay. They have trillions of dollars debt. We're not the same level. We're at a different level entirely. And also our base of income is not big enough to repay the money. Most time when you see the likes of US or UK investing in any particular infrastructure, one of the things they do is that they will sit down, do analysis and say, can they repay back themselves? And if the answer is yes, you say how many years you're going to pay back. If you can pay back over 20, 30 years, that means the loan they're going to take will almost be over the same lifespan. To make sure the return they're going to getting back, at least whatever the return in terms of the taxes or the rates they charge, will help them to repay back the loan. But in case of Nigeria, we don't even do analysis. Someone just said we need 100 billion to build railroad from Nigeria all the way to the UK. What is the benefit of the UK to my economy? Nigeria. No one cares about that. And they said, how am I going to pay back? How much am I going to be charging people to use the railroad? If it's so expensive, people will not use it. Absolutely. They'll rather go on the road. If I don't get the results from it, what's going to happen? Who's going to run it? If I even privatize it, people are saying, I'm not going to make enough money. So why would I pay so much money for it? So those are the questions that people asking. I said, we don't think this is sustainable. And that is why we need to really, the spending we have right now, we have to accept the question, is this sustainable? The answer is no. And the question needs to be asked, how can we stop this madness so that we don't overburden not just ourselves, but the future generation? Because Nigeria has a huge potential of becoming a world power when it comes to economy. I showed us a graph where you say Nigeria is going to move to about 14 the world ranking by 2050. But if we start burdening ourselves with too much economic right now, the guys that give us a loan will take over some of our assets, and then before we know it, they control a large chunk of our economy. And then we will have mortgaged the future of our generation. That is why I am concerned, and most people who have the new interest of Nigeria has are really concerned.
Thank you so much. I am concerned as well. And yes, we can see the railways, we can see, but even the pricings of the railways, that they're purely social services. I'm not sure they can, the amount being made from them will actually even, I don't know if it's prime to break even, if, talk less of making profit from. And I like that particular perspective you gave about even when they start getting when the government goes along the lines of privatization, a lot of the companies would have to actually weigh it, and is it actually beneficial? And it's a problem we're already having with the electricity system, the gencos and the discos. Quite a lot of the discos have been threatening to return their licenses because they continue to insist that in terms of making returns from whatever they've paid for, that is just not working. And I just hope that people like you, people who have a bit more knowledge than I'm not saying all the politicians out there are dumb. In all fairness, there's some really, really good politicians who have a brain upstairs, but there are also quite a few of them that they're just there by virtue of being able to campaign, or by virtue of having a few more extra dollars to contribute to someone else's campaign, and then those ones they just put them in offices that they do not even deserve to be in. But having said that, let's close it for tonight. I want to appreciate you again. I'll call on our Secgen to give the vote of thanks, and then we'll call it a night. Secgen, please, can you do the vote of thanks?
Good evening, everyone.
Hello, Jimoke. I'm in a webinar.
On behalf of PLIDE, on behalf of
Okay, no problem.
And on social media, I sincerely want to appreciate Mr. Agbedeyi for taking out his time and for doing justice
like I said previously, we've learned so many things from you, and we will continue to be grateful for your time. And we sincerely appreciate you. Even despite your tight schedule, you take it upon yourself to come to our session this evening and to open our eyes to even a better way of making life better for every member of this platform and even to general public. So on behalf of Fly, I want to sincerely appreciate you, and I pray that God will continually be with you and God will continually uphold and renew your wealth of knowledge. And at the same thing, I want to also appreciate all our members and audience on social media and people who have joined us on different platforms. Thank you for being with us, and we really appreciate you. Thank you, and God bless you all.
Agbedeyi, thank you so much, Mr. Section. Agbedeyi, you are the,
Thank you so much for
you,
having me. I'm honored to be part of the speech tonight. Thank you so much.
thank you so much, Agbedeyi. You are the bomb. You're really, really, it's a lot of times you just know when someone has gone to download a book from somewhere, or you just Google and mishmash things, just bring the mishmash to feed. But I know that in this case, you're talking from, and I know you love mentoring. You really, really love mentoring. And I hope that we can hand over one or two of our members to you to also help us in that regard, helping them to navigate those day-to-day decisions that can help them to make better choices in the areas of finance and in career as well. God bless you, and I thank all of you Adom who are watching us. Thanks for being with us. Thanks for being a part of this. Thanks to all of you who do get to across to us on a weekly basis to share your views on some of our programs. And we really appreciate you. We thank you for yes, we're happy to actually add something to you every time, but well, I mean, what is the meaning of this if you're not there? So it actually more meaningful because those of you out there, you're part of this, and we appreciate you. I want to thank the in-house panelists for today, Comrade Olada Afolabi, Ayole, Comrade Ayole, Comrade Senator Olu Messi. Thanks for joining us all the way from the United States. Comrade Dennis Agaye Ako. I've been made to understand that that was a former vice president.